Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's AVARigs, and I say rigs with an S because this beast of a system could very well be 2, 3, 4 rigs put together. I mean, this gentleman, I had the pleasure of working with him for a very long time, and the reason for that is he was a bit of a perfectionist, which is respectable, and everything that Zach did to this was intentional, as Zach said, per his design.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth and working with blueprints and stuff, and he had a lot of specific ideas about what he wanted out of the system, from the tube runs all being parallel to where the radiators were at. There was a lot of back and forth and a lot of coordination to make what he wanted come true. I'm sure some of you might recognize this is a Caselabs SMA8, which has been discontinued since 2014 when they went out of business. So this is actually were pieces and parts that we got off of eBay, and I had to straighten them out, get them powder coated, to get this dream case for him going.
Yeah. So being as that, like, our niche is custom system integration, and not custom in the sense that a lot of system integrators say, like, oh look, I can add something that's not listed on our site, and no, it's custom. No. What we will actually do is fabricate. We will paint. We will cut, we will do whatever you want us to do, like any other company does, as long as our time is covered. We'll see what the billable hours are. We'll tell you, estimate, here's what we're going to do, here's what it's going to cost, and you can say yes or no. It makes no difference to us. Whatever you want us to do, we'll do it, as long as it's,
possible.
Not so rather than just talk about system specifications, which we're going to list in the description of the video for you to see for yourself, it goes without saying that anybody that's going to put this kind of time and effort and money and craftsmanship into a system like this, the specifications are going to be incredible. But the graphics card is a 3090, the processor is an Intel i9 10th gen, so 10 cores, the only Intel 10 core processor that's worth a damn right now, and tons of memory. I'm not going to talk about specifications because they're there in plain print for you to read. Instead, what I would like to talk about are the benchmarks. So here we have an AVA Direct System Binder, and this is a service that we offer in the event that you want something like this that documents, specifications on the system, scores. It thanks you for buying a system from us. Unlike some people that you can buy systems from, we do not force this down your throat. We do not put this as part of the cost with buying a system from us. If you want to pay money for it, you can. If you don't, you just care about getting a high-end PC, well, you can just pay for that too. It's kind of like, the dollar menu.
That's a good way to put it.
Just saying. Well, I'm just saying, there's people out there, right. I don't want to name names, because I respect everybody for what they do in this industry, but some people, it's great to say that this is our experience, nothing more, nothing less, but there are people out there like myself that I only want to pay for what I care about.
Yeah.
It's like you get landscaping done, and if somebody's going to force you to get bushes, and you just want flowers, you're going to find somebody else. No one wants stupid looking bushes anyway.
Is this another personal experience?
Yes. Yeah. No, my landscaper did not force bushes down my throat.
Today's rig is actually therapy for Joe, in case you haven't noticed.
My therapist quit on me, if you can't tell, and I'm sure you can probably figure out why. So, system performance. We have Geekbench 5, which we put your computer, because we're assuming that the customer is the one reading this and not family members. Your computer scored at 11,045, and comparative to like i5s and the AMD R5 and R9, which we'll also show screenshots of this as well so you can follow along. Geekbench 5, 11,045. 3D Mark Time Spy, 20,569. That's for GPU. CPU scored 13,203. Overall, we're looking at a score of 18,980. Lutzmark V4, we have a score of 8,162. And then we have our CPU burn-in test, which just kind of shows a lovely fluorescent, multicolored graph of all these pretty colors.
The colors do go pretty crazy when you have a lot of cores like this.
They do, but I'll tell you what, one of the first things I did when Zach was leak testing this system, and he was checking to see, and I wanted to see for myself so I could report back to Dan the Man. These are by far the best temperatures I've seen on an Intel 10-core 10th gen processor to date with liquid cooling. I mean, this system has 4 radiators in it, right?
3, actually.
The system has 3 radiators in it. 3, and they're massive. Like there's
they're all
two,
push-pull. There's one
480
one
mil,
here,
560
one here,
mil.
one here.
Yeah, and that was actually, it was really exciting to me to see Zach work with the customer directly, because that's another thing. Our techs typically don't work directly with customers. People in tech support, people in customer service and sales, such as myself, we act as liaisons, right? And so what we'll do is we'll speak to our techs, and then we speak to the customer if there's answers that we can't give them, because our sales staff and our customer service staff, it's a requirement for them to know how to build a PC so they can talk to our customers. And a lot of questions we can already answer right off the rip without having to communicate with techs. But if it's something specific on the PC, we'll have to communicate. I looped Zach in pretty early with Dan the Man so they could just communicate back and forth. And a lot of time was spent just trying to design where the radiators were going to fit and how they were going to orient. So Zach, talk a little bit about like your experience in that regard, as far as how you guys both came to the conclusion of where the radiators were going to fit.
So he had a very specific placement for the radiators in mind. He wanted the bottom one specifically in the front. He also wanted this radiator up front, but he didn't want the stock mid plate and then the radiator up here. So I had to work back and forth with him. I actually ended up finding a new fitting that we hadn't used before from Coolants.
Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a compact 90 to allow for these tubes to fit up here with the radiator in the front down here. I also got the full mid plate and cut it very close to this radiator up here, because that was the aesthetic he was going for. But that was actually a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of, hey, this isn't going to fit like this. This isn't physically possible. Like, what do you want to do? And we did a lot of experimentation with that, and wound up with this, which I'm actually quite pleased with.
I'm incredibly pleased with it, and Brooke will probably get B-roll of the system with the panels off so you can see how precise all of the tube runs and the measurements were. Because I just rebuilt my system like a couple of months ago, and it was the first system I built where before I mounted everything and then ran the tubes, because generally, there's two different kinds of people out there. There's people that will just mount everything and then run the tubes accordingly, and then there's people like Zach and now myself where you consider the tube runs before you mount anything, because you want it all mounted and lined up so you get precise runs with little to no effort. That's not to say these tubes did not take effort, because they took a considerable amount of effort, right, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, building a system like this is almost like conducting an orchestra. Like you said, you don't mount the parts until you know what the tubes are doing, and there's a lot of back and forth with that. So there's a lot of careful consideration with like where the reservoirs went to make these tubes light up nicely down here, and he also wanted fill ports integrated into the top of the system. So
that was an incredible touch.
That also had to be considered with the position of the reservoirs without making them look too out of place. And
I can't hear this system running, by the way. You're not going to hear it because the mic's not going to pick it up, but I was actually just saying before we started filming that the noise level that it's making is similar to what I would imagine like an H.R. Geiger movie inside of a spaceship, like the hum of the engine.
Yeah, so
or the warp drive.
Every cable in this system that was not sleeved, I had to take apart, put sleeving on it.
Had to, because that's what Dan the Man wanted.
So every cable in this system is sleeved now.
There's one thing I appreciate about our customers, though, when it comes to particular and very tight-knit builds, is that for me personally, I feel like anytime I work on systems like this, and either in like our RMA department or if I'm helping out production and I'm building systems, it raises the bar for my own system building just a little bit, because of the way that I learned to appreciate why people start to request certain things in builds. This system specifically also piqued my curiosity for mounting things in a way that tubes would line up, and like you can tell if you see a picture of my build, you can tell that I mounted everything with the intent of the tube runs, and everything just looks super clean, and it's really appreciative. And I remember Dan the Man told me when he was designing the tube runs, he kind of wanted a jail cell theme to it, where like the lines are all parallel and they run up and down, and it's just, oh god, and the glass tubes, they're so crystal clear, and the light bounces and refracts and just,
I was kind of wondering about it, because as I was cutting the tubes, I'm like, man, these are so difficult to cut. They keep shattering. Is this really worth it?
I got this diamond cutting tool, and I got to wet sand it, and then I got to stand there for 10 minutes afterward.
But it worked out, because even as I was just test fitting the tubes, I'm like, I don't see it yet. But once I filled the system, You know, got the lights set up nice. Like, wow,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I should also say that 90% of the parts in the system are from Aqua Computer.
Yeah.
Many of you may not know who they are, but they've been around for a long time. They make all of the heat killer CPU blocks that you see. Heat killer CPU blocks are huge when you start diving into like the elitist forums, because this company puts a lot of attention into R&D, and they make sure that their blocks have the most incredible cooling efficiency. The downside is they're not really flashy and aesthetically pleasing like some other brands. Like EKWB, their blocks are a healthy combination of both. They perform very well for the price point that you pay, and they look incredible. Like, they keep that in mind. These guys, all of their stuff is designed to perform at its absolute best, and then they consider the aesthetics after the fact. That's not to say they don't look good.
I think it looks good.
It looks incredible in an ecosystem. And that's, as long as you're not picking and choosing which brand you're going to use for all of your parts. If you go with an ecosystem as far as brand, like, you can't go wrong, and it worked out incredibly well.
Yeah, this is all aqua tuning, and I was actually incredibly impressed with the software, as this was my first time working with it.
I love the interfaces, all of the LED interfaces that you see.
So, like,
it's incredible.
You can select whatever readout or temperatures you want for any of these displays, and then the fan controllers, you can set them to read temperatures from anywhere in the system, off the motherboard, GPU, anything.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have the loop set up to actually read the loop temperature off the sensor and the reservoirs.
There's a sensor in the reservoir.
Yes.
You didn't have to add it, it's just part of it.
It's just part of it.
There you go, guys. There is a GPU bracket that is manufactured by Aqua Tuning or Aqua Computer. That isn't necessary since it's being liquid cooled.
That was more of an aesthetic
choice. It was
choice.
more of an aesthetic,
Yeah.
and it was a good choice. Nonetheless, again, Dan the Man was very conscious about every aspect of this system. I'm talking about, I guarantee that Dan the Man is going to be the kind of person to reuse this case for a very long time.
I sure hope so.
There's no way you need to consider using another. This is like, it's like buying a house and then you just invest on what's in the inside of the house and you touch up the outside as need be. This is like his PC house. This is a house for his components.
Yeah, I'm not
Just
shy
don't let
about
anybody
saying.
force you to get pushes for it.
I think this is probably the nicest example of an SMA8 currently, like fully refurbished. We redid all the powder coating on it.
Everything is
straightened some bent panels.
Refurbished is a good word to use to describe it. Not a good word that people like hearing in the industry because they associate it with like used parts. But I mean, that is what we did with it.
Yeah.
That's no secret. He sent us a case on eBay because you can't
Yeah.
buy these cases anymore, and we made it brand new. Completely brand new.
Even down to the missing hardware, you know, I had to source some hardware from McMaster-Carr.
That's right, yeah.
And some other sources just to get what was originally used on this case. This is a very faithful restoration.
It's an incredible restoration, and that just goes to show you like the kind of things that we can do as a company if you so choose to hire us to do this kind of work, because that's what it is. It's less about buying a system from us. You hire us to consult and help you build your dream PC, and we'll tell you what's possible, what isn't possible, and if it isn't possible, how to make it possible, and this is the result. Be doing some crazy stuff in the future, so you will want to stay tuned to future AVARigs systems. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Sound off in the comments if you want to see other systems like this, or you want to see what Zach's capable of. Maybe if somebody comes up with an incredibly crazy theme build that nobody would ever think of, like, I don't know, a mini system in like a steel-based banana hammock, we'll think about how we can make it happen. Thanks again for joining us, guys. My name is Joe.
I'm Zach.
And you have yourself a wonderful day.
If you like the PC in this video, be sure to contact our sales team at sales@avadirect.com, or you can head over to our website by clicking on the link in the description below. You can choose from many pre-built options, gaming or workstation based, or use our configurator to build a PC of your dreams. Be sure to click that thumbs up button and subscribe, and don't forget to follow our social media channels at avadirect.com.